How is it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are actually going to be talking about a few different articles looking at McLaren and the future and the direction that McLaren as a brand in general is heading towards. And before we actually get into today's video, definitely be sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. It definitely helps me out a lot as a smaller YouTuber. Also, down below in the description, I do have a link to my Teespring store. If you do want to support the channel monetarily, it would mean a lot to me. Basically, the link to the store is down there. I have a few different designs and definitely going to be putting a lot more on there in the near future. But for now, looking at the first article, this car and driver article, basically you can tell right from the title, McLaren actually has trademarked a few different names that we're going to be going over in this video later on. And they very well could be the names of future cars in their actual lineup. And another big topic throughout this article is that McLaren may actually be done with the alphanumeric names that they put on their cars. I mean, I feel like there's so many of them ever since the MP412C, and even, I mean, as far as back as like something like the F1. We've had so many things like the F1, P1, MP412C, 720S, 570S, like you name it. And they even go over it in this article, like as you can see right here, 650S, 570 GT. Like there's so many things, and if you're not a specific fan of McLaren, it could get very confusing very quickly. And to be quite honest with you guys, me personally, I do like actual names for vehicles instead of the alphanumeric kind of names that other brands such as Mercedes or BMW or even Audi might use. I feel like using a conglomerate of numbers and letters for cars is definitely more of like a European thing, or at least it's more popular with European brands, I feel like. But recently we have seen McLaren using a lot more just regular names for cars in general, like the Senna, the Elva, the Speedtail, and even the new Artura. And now moving on, it actually does mention the three names that McLaren's seeking to, I guess, legally protect. And they are the Solus, the Aeron, and the Aonic. Or, again, sorry if I pronounced that last one wrong. I feel like these three names are a little bit weird. A lot of these cars, like they do sound weird. I do think that it is good that the McLaren is actually going with physical names again instead of just a conglomerate of numbers and letters for their cars. But even like this first comment down here by literally Joe Schmo, pretty popular guy. All three of these names literally sound like something that is like 90s or 2000s GM models, and I can't agree with him more. They're pretty bland names. McLaren does not make bland cars, but these are three names that you should definitely look for in the future if you are a fan of McLaren or just fan of supercars in general, because I can almost guarantee that within the next few years, at least even within the next year, you might be seeing a Solus, an Aeron, or an Aonic or Aonic on a McLaren lineup in the very near future. Now, moving on, this article does actually briefly state that McLaren has not made it publicly announced that they are going to be taking place in the supercar SUV market, such as Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. Obviously, Aston Martin with the new DBX that I actually did a review on, and I will leave a link on top of the video right now, as well as the Lamborghini Urus and the Ferrari Purosangue, or again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. Me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole supercar SUV trend. Obviously, it's a very lucrative business, and we've seen other manufacturers such as Ford completely discontinue a lot of their cars because they're solely focusing on SUVs and trucks, because that is where the vast majority of the car market is today. So many people buy SUVs, and it's very rare to see a household not have an SUV in the driveway, because they're, in a lot of sense, the perfect mix of, I guess, the performance that you look for in a car, as well as the convenience and the actual versatility of something like a truck. And obviously we're seeing different subclasses of SUVs in the recent decades now, such as crossovers and different things like this, mid-size, full-size SUVs. Obviously mid-size, full-size SUVs have been around forever, but again, the crossovers are something new. And brands such as Lamborghini, Aston Martin, and Ferrari are taking advantage of this because, again, it's an extremely lucrative market. And for the most part, before these three brands really entered into the luxury SUV or supercar SUV market, the main competitors were something like Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Maybach for Mercedes. Obviously, you do have Mercedes and BMW and Audi SUVs, but they're definitely lower when compared to something like an Aston Martin or a Bentley or Rolls-Royce. Now, anyways, getting back on topic to McLaren, and this is actually another article that Car and Driver put out back in May of this year, and this is a little in-depth review of the new 2022 McLaren Artura. Now, this car does seem to be the kind of quote-unquote successor to the 720S. It does look very much like a 720S, but the main thing that is different, of course, is that this is a hybrid supercar that does actually sport a blown V6, making 577 horsepower, 7,500 RPMs, and 431 foot-pounds of torque between 2,250 Rs and 7,000 RPM. And again, this boosted 3-liter V6 that does, again, work with a kind of like electric batteries as well. So it is a hybrid supercar. Now, even though this Artura is already out, I did also want to take a look at these pictures from an even earlier article. And in this article, it does have a few concept pictures of what they thought initially the Artura was going to look like. Now, obviously, again, you guys see how it came out. It does look a lot more like a 720 compared to, again, the concept pictures, but this concept car may actually serve as a base to some other vehicle that McLaren may put out in the future. Again, one of the previously mentioned three names that McLaren actually just trademarked. So looking at it again in the front, it looks a lot like a 720, and then the overall body is just, it looks a lot more wider, and the rear looks very, very weird. Maybe a little bit like, I mean, very, very small resemblance to something like a 675 LT. But yeah, it's a concept car for what they thought the Artura would be. So you can sit there and say that this is going to be completely thrown in the trash. But I do feel as though McLaren is trying to radically not change their brand, but definitely shifted into the new kind of electric era of supercars. We've recently seen Lamborghini completely, I guess, commit to having their entire lineup either plug-in hybrids or fully electric by the year 2030. I believe Ferrari is also following in those footsteps. And moving on to the very last article of this video, this is one out of Reuters, obviously a lot more business focused when compared to a brand such as Car and Driver. And the main points that they really talk about in this article is, again, like you see the 2030 mark. McLaren, they believe that their goal is going to be to offer a completely hybrid lineup by that year. Now, we do know that Porsche is working on making an actual composite fuel, or whether it's petroleum based or actually has some other base to it that basically makes emissions or completely lowers emissions for internal combustion engines. So hopefully that does happen. But if it doesn't, McLaren is again aiming for 2030 to have a completely hybrid lineup. Now, the main problem that they are facing, as we could see in this section of the article, is the amount of weight that these electric batteries add. We all know that Teslas are absolute boats, and even though something like the brand new Tesla Model S Plaid has a ridiculous, I believe, like under 2-second 0 to 60 time, the car is still going to struggle a lot if you actually put it on a road course or a circuit with actual turns. I mean, you can make a fantastic electric drag vehicle, but the added weight is definitely a killer around the track. And McLaren is, of course, known for making insane track capable supercars. So putting extremely heavy batteries in their cars is definitely something to think about as well. Now, like always, I will leave a link to all these articles down in the description below. If I missed anything or I got anything wrong in this video, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And also let me know what you guys think of these new trademarked names from McLaren. Do you think something's actually going to come from it? Do you think, you know, they were just thinking about adding new models and they're not actually going to? Just let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And again, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. But anyways, like always, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.